Welcome back to the LEC. We have 2 games left to play, the last one being Fnatic versus G2 in our match of the week. But right now we're about to dive into Rogue versus Astralis. It's the first place versus the 10th place team. And while we expect Rogue to win, many unexpected things have happened this season already, not least of which being surprise losses from undefeated teams. Just yesterday, the lossless Rogue was handed their first loss by Schalke in a game that frankly was winnable for Rogue. But also some questionable decision-making from Hans Sommer in the clip that you are watching right now. You'll notice that Rogue, at this point in the game, they had a 2,000 gold lead. They were building up towards their 3rd dragon. And keep your eyes on Hans Sommer playing the Xayah. Steps into the dragon pit, elects to flash over the wall, expecting to take down Neon. Neon's heal keeps him alive. And the reason that's so crucially important is knowing Hans Sommer had no flash, knowing that Schalke were able to push through the mid lane, the lapse in judgment from Hans Sommer and Rogue allowed Schalke to tower dive, allowed them to punish Rogue, and allowed Schalke to pick up the win. So that left me pondering if other teams can take advantage of Rogue. Why is that important to mention? Well, yesterday against Fnatic, Astralis showed that they can fight. They can get scrappy, they can take a punch, but more importantly to me, they can dish it out. If you take a look at a collection of these clips from Astralis versus Fnatic yesterday during the course of the earlier mid-game, there were a number of skirmishes, a number of picks, and a number of team fights that kept Astralis not only ahead in gold, but had me questioning, could they close the game out? WhiteKnight goes absolutely off. Mega Gnar's up, manages to get the stun against the wall, and then with some support from the rest of the Astralis squad, managed to chase down Fnatic. Ultimately, Astralis lost the game. If, however, they were able to get a similar style of picks today against Rogue, be in an advantageous position, the question I ask myself is, could that be enough to help them take down Rogue? When we take a look at these 2 teams, the differences cannot be discounted. Take a look at your stats. Goal difference at 15, plus 2k to minus 1.3k. Second in the league for team kill to death ratio to 0.5. Obviously, the team that's winning will have a higher one than the team that's losing. Majority lead, Drake percentages, everything is in favor of Rogue. Yesterday was the first time that I truly got excited from something I was seeing in the early game from Astralis. I want to see them do it again. I want to see a draft that can help them punish Rogue. I want to see if they can surprise everyone once again. Let's head to the casters to get us into Rogue versus Astralis.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. Obviously excited to get into this game. It was a crazy game last time. We'll have to see if this one can live up to the hype.
Yeah, I mean, last game was a bit of a El Poya gap, but this time was definitely more of like a David Goliath Rogue versus Astralis. 1st place versus 10th place, like Trevor said.
Yeah, and I think that there's a big challenge on the side of Astralis, not necessarily to win this game, but to keep improvement up week to week. Vitality have shown us kind of good things in the early game pretty consistently, and a consistently scattered late game. But it feels like, to me at least, that Astralis have been all over the shop. It's hard to say what their consistent strengths are, consistent weaknesses are. All we really can say for certain is that they're just continuing to lose games.
Yeah, I mean, WhiteKnight had a really good performance yesterday on the Gnar especially. He was kind of keeping them in the game, but I feel like this team's lacking that one person who can step up and carry the game. You know, for us last year was Patrick when we were not doing so good as a team. Patrick's the one that's going to step up. Astralis haven't really found that person who's going to step up, and they need to find it soon.
Absolutely do. Of course, big pressure on them to potentially find an upset here after Rogue were taken down yesterday. But for Rogue, they cannot afford to lose another game as we get into picks and bans.
Lovely.
And here we are, Caedrel. Picks and bans one more time. What's Rogue's strategy going to be today? Will they draft another composition akin to a glass cannon and throw themselves at Astralis, hoping to dominate the early game? Or are we going to see Rogue hop on the scaling train that everyone seems to be more than happy to pick a few wins off of? For now, though, bans coming out pretty quickly. Renekton, the Udyr, the Olaf already taken off the board.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise to see a Camille ban now that Renekton's out. It's a really good first pick with Renekton being off the board. So I'd be a bit scared of that first pick if I was Astralis. And like you said, mostly teams going for scaling, because that's the thing. If you don't really figure out the meta and you're not sure what's OP, just go pure scaling and you'll probably win most of the games, because, well, teams are trying to fight themselves to try and get this early game comp going. You're just scaling and eventually you win because they don't they don't have enough proactivity. Whereas Rogue, I think, have shown proactivity. They've shown globals, they've shown teamfight, they've shown split push comps. So they're looking really good. That's a Kai'Sa first pick. Camille's still open. Yeah, we'll see if Astralis want to go for something like the Kalista or Samira, which Jeskla is playing a lot here.
And generally, I just love to see Hansama on the Kai'Sa. Obviously, the strongest AD carry in the current meta. Part of that is her flexibility. She does so much damage to tanks if you are going to draft something like the Gragas or a tankier front line. But also, she can dive into the back line at a moment's notice. Sets Rogue up for any one of a variety of compositions. Astralis now have to opt for what they go for. Thresh of Velios.
Yep, Thresh of Velios is open. You need Velios with Thresh, you need Thresh with a Velios. So it's the 1-1 combo really needs to be picked together. So I want you to try to see...
Wow!
That's a Caitlyn.
That's a Caitlyn.
That's a Caitlyn.
That's...
a Caitlyn.
All right, I'm not going to lie to you. Outside of getting bullied in ARAMs on the occasional solo queue game, I did not expect to see this on the professional scene anytime soon.
I did not. I mean, Caitlyn is a very oppressive laner, paired with Thresh, you've got the Lantern, so it makes a little bit of sense there, because into the Kai'Sa doesn't have that much wave clear early, so I guess Caitlyn can push her in and try and get some turret plates. The only problem is, I think melee supports and things like Camille just shut Caitlyn down too much. As we see Lillia come in for Inspired, wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of melee support picked up here into Thresh, or maybe they want to go for a top laner early, but I think Caitlyn Thresh is definitely something we're going to have to watch as the game progresses. Caitlyn historically spikes on 3 items, gets really good mid-wave control in the mid-game, and makes it so setting up around objectives like the Baron and the Dragon is really, really easy, because you just put a trap line in, start it up, and they have to walk into you. So this Caitlyn pick will scale pretty well, but this is a Rogue OG thing that we've seen here, the Lucian mid with an AP jungle. They're running it back, they lost with it yesterday. Man, Astralis' comp, I really like it. Skarner Thresh, you know how deadly this is if you flash ult and you land sprint back into your team?
I'm aware.
Especially against things like the Lucian Lillia, which are really short-range champions. Now you can invest bans into melee supports or junglers to kind of get better matchups for yourself. So Rogue, going with what they're good at, going with what's probably worked for them in scrims, this early game dominance in the solo lanes. But Astralis have some kind of answer which is very off-meta. We haven't seen a Skarner, we haven't seen a Caitlyn, so this is very, very off-meta. But Astralis are confident in it, because he just insta-locked the Skarner into the Lillia.
And when you think about Zanzarah as a player, especially last year, he made his name on picks like the Skarner, the more tanky, more team-focused style picks. And Skarner, a champion who can clear exceptionally quickly, who can kind of match a lot of what an Udyr would bring to the table, but when paired with a Thresh, as you mentioned, potentially very deadly, and I like the sheer amount of CC or potential follow-up CC in the form of Caitlyn traps that we are seeing from the Astralis lineup. It is going to be a difficult early game for Rogue to play out, most certainly.
Yeah, I want to see something like a Nautilus from Rogue into this Thresh Caitlyn, try and shut it down, see it, stop it pushing in so much. But like you said, Skarner is very, very good at fast clearing. It's one of the fastest junglers even when he's got his shrines. The problem is with Skarner is he doesn't win many 1v1s, and if you don't win many 1v1s as a jungler, when it comes to 2v2s, you're not too useful until you're level 6 with that ultimate. So we're still looking at things like the Syndra being up here, Camille, these playmaking champs which are really good. In the solo lanes, the Syndra gets picked up here into the Lucian, which I think is really strong. The only thing I think Rogue needs is some kind of frontline, whether it's a Nautilus. Camille is still open, but it's going to mean you're running a 1-3-1 comp again, which is what they ran yesterday with the Shen, but it didn't work super well for them as they did lose to Schalke. So they must have confidence in this kind of draft, so they're running it back, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of 1-3-1 slash frontline come in for Rogue.
Yeah, definitely needs something a little bit tanky. Would love to see... It's hard to say, because on the one hand, I really would love to see a tank support, but so many of the good tank supports that we see in the meta have difficult matchups into the Thresh. Blitzcrank, not one of them.
Blitz, yeah, it's good into Thresh, it's good into time, it's good into these kind of champions, because you can just basically, you have a longer range hook than Thresh, and if he steps up too far, you can hook him into the tower. If Caitlyn steps up too far, you can hook him into the tower too, so works well, similar to Nautilus, but just a better version.
Yeah, in this context, definitely going to feel pretty good in the matchup. Now seeing what the last pick is going to be here for Rogue. What do they want to give for Odoamne? It is a blind pick. Do we see something more defensive, or does he go for something like the Camille here? Really taking their time. It's going to be the Kennen.
So Rogue have gone for this 1-4 sort of comp again with decent team fights. Their comp doesn't come together super well. The Blitzcrank makes sense in the context of the lane phase and into Syndra and things like this. But there isn't too much where you can identify like, this is Rogue's win condition, because they have a little bit of team fight, a little bit of side lane, and a little bit of early game. So well-rounded, I would say, is the best way to put it. But the Gnar last pick, we saw it from WhiteKnight earlier yesterday, I believe. He was popping off. I do think Kennen is good into the Gnar. Historically, it's almost like a counter pick. You saw it in like Season 6, Season 7. But just in general, I think Rogue's comp, like yesterday, is not super it doesn't have like a clear win condition to the point where you can execute it easily. There's lots of micro things you have to do here well. You have to get Lucian ahead, you have to get good TP wards for the Kennen, the Lillia has to win the early game, maybe you have to punish this Caitlyn a little bit, but Astralis is one, although it is a bit off meta, does make a lot more sense.
Yeah, it looks like, honestly, a composition from meta's past when we look at the side of Astralis, but Rogue continuing, as you said, to draft towards some of what we've seen in their last two games. Games that have been very close. Barely a win against Misfits, a loss to Schalke, but another volatile and potentially incredibly powerful team comp from the side of Rogue. And for Astralis, I'm ready to see what the Skarner could do. I'm ready to see how dominant the Caitlyn Thresh lane can be as we get ready and get geared up for Rogue versus Astralis for Game 4 of the day.
Now Rogue have two winning solo lanes, Drakos. I think the Lucian Syndra has a winning early, the Kennen wins into Gnar. Problem is this bot lane is where the focus is going to be Caitlyn. Do they want to shut down the Caitlyn, or they just want to keep snowballing these solo lanes? Because yesterday, they didn't get the Lucian as ahead as they should have to be able to get into the mid game and actually have some sort of pressure point on the map. So Rogue looking for some kind of level 1 here to try and hook Zanzarah over the wall, but smartly, we saw this earlier in the last game. 2 wards placed down early from the side of Astralis. Base, pick up a sweeper, no reason to keep the ward.
And one thing I think we have to keep our eye on is that if Astralis are able to get this Caitlyn ahead, if they're able to start grabbing tower plates and using her long range, her ability to bully the lanes successfully, can they rotate her around the map? Because while Kennen is really solid in lane, and yeah, you're certainly not going to dive a level 6 Kennen, his wave clears, he has to walk into the wave to wave clear for the most part, which means that Caitlyn, if Astralis gets ahead, could just have a field day roaming around the map, taking tower plates left and right. That said, a difficult thing to accomplish when Rogue are set up to be dominant in these lanes.
Yeah, I like the hype that you put around Caitlyn here. The problem with Caitlyn is historically the reason that Caitlyn was so strong in the early seasons, but it's got weaker as the games progressed and developed, is so much more engaged and easier tools to get on backline has been produced throughout the last couple of years in League of Legends, whether it's diving, too much frontline, and Caitlyn really struggles against hard engage. So that's why I think Rogue rounded it out with a Kennen, because if this Caitlyn gets flanked, she's like a sitting duck. She's just going to get popped. Although she has good objective control, the only real way that you can play with Caitlyn is when you're ahead as a team. If you're behind as a team and you're getting pushed into towers, Caitlyn is really, really not that effective. Whereas champions like Jhin can wave clear pretty well, and he can scale pretty well in general. And the problem with Caitlyn was the scaling wasn't that great. And the early game, the platings coming in, it made it really difficult for Caitlyn because she couldn't really take the plates because of so much engaged supports, junglers pathing bot, getting to level 2, cheese ganking Caitlyn. So we have to see if Astralis can actually utilize this properly, because it is quite difficult to execute, especially seeing as this champ is not really seen in the meta too much.
But of course, before they can even realistically use the composition, we have to keep our eye on the laning phase. That's going to be a hook into the level 1, but keep in mind, Inspired is on the way. This is a level 3 promisq, definitely overstepping, but maybe they can finish off Trymbi to get it started. But that's so much damage coming in. That's the Dark Harvest is now reset for Inspired as well. Big chunk out of Jeskla. And this is about as bad as it could go. The flash already burned from Inspired, so it looks like Jeskla will survive.
Very intelligent pathing from Inspired. This is something Tarzan did in Season 9 on Griffin. You do 3 camps into your bot side with red buff, or 3 camps in your top side on red buff, and you go into that same lane. So you do red, Raptors, Krugs, and path into that same lane. So Inspired, you could call it a cheese gank in a way, but really, really smart pathing. Gets the bot as his bot lane's about to hit level 2. Punishes this Caitlyn who wants to push, and this is exactly what I was mentioning. The reason Caitlyn, if she can't push, she's just not that useful as a champ. So Inspired identifies this really well. Although he is a little bit down on farm now, he's based, he's got his team a kill. The problem is Rogue's bot lane is not in a good spot, so Zanzarah was looking for some kind of gank, does get spotted out by the ward from Trymbi, and they do have to stick around here. Trymbi, no flash.
No ignite. The hook is going to connect. Trymbi now going to be in trouble. Zanzarah moving in, going to go for the crystal, going to get the follow, but that's the kill back in return. Good 1-for-1 for Trymbi and Caedrel. We might not even get to think about Astralis' composition if they keep losing their lives like this on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, this gank from Inspired has really set the tempo in the bot side of the map. You could see Jeskla stepping forwards there because he wanted to get the kill. He needs to get the Caitlyn ahead. Handsoma punishes him pretty well because he has no sums. Does pick up that kill, and I think that that bot wave is actually kind of fine for Rogue now. Inspired is getting quite low here. Does 2 camps at the same time. Very efficient. Is even with Zanzarah now, who is going to base after Inspired's going to pick up these... for the Raptors? I think he's waiting for the Raptor respawn. Perhaps his time didn't think so he can pick it up before Zanzarah can get there. And he has indeed. So really good vision towards the top side. And we're going to go into a replay here. And this is after the initial kill came through. Zanzarah clears the ward. And now what does Rogue do? They have to kind of sit there. They have to push in this wave. And the problem is they can't push the wave in. So promisq goes for the flash hook, lands it onto Trymbi, who has no flash. They pick up the kill. But it is a trade in general. And trading your AD carry's life for another AD carry, it's not really worth it for your jungler, especially because Caitlyn needs to get ahead.
Exactly, and that's the big thing, is it's trading your early game AD carry for the enemy team AD carry. Don't get me wrong, Kai'Sa is very good early game, especially with Hail of Blades, but she doesn't need to dominate early game to come out on top. And as you said, Inspired already caught up and is now ahead. I love the Raptors take. It was aggressive, but in the end, it's a good call. It pays off. He's able to move in and take the Scuttle Crab as well, and now he's well ahead of Zanzarah. And it's important to note, Zanzarah on a Skarner, this is a comfort pick. This is not in the meta. This is something that he plays personally. We're going to have to hold that thought as the sidestep comes in from Odoamne. No further follow-up necessary.
Yeah, you can see both junglers passing towards his bot side. And the thing is, with Inspired, he put vision towards the top side of the map and spotted Zanzarah moving down. WhiteKnight tries to land the stun there. He probably could have picked up a kill if he hit it, but good sidestep from Odoamne. Thumbs up there from WhiteKnight. He's going to back off, maybe TP back this lane, but the focus is on the Caitlyn. She is a little bit behind. She's not completely out of the game. There is an 800 gold lead on the side of Rogue, but the Caitlyn is trying to push in the waves. But the thing is, if Inspired keeps playing towards bot side, and if Rogue can get some kind of TP wards behind Astralis now that they have no flash, promisq has to play Lantern on this bot lane. He can't step up, he can't look for aggressive hooks. He has to sit back and play Lantern in case the enemy jungle's around. But when Zanzarah is around bot, he can step up a little bit more.
See if he wants to use the Lantern to set up a gank. No flash available, no Hex Flash for the Thresh either. Not sure what he opted to go for there. Looks like the perfect timing, opting for the stopwatch. nukeduck taking so much damage, though, from Larssen. The culling is going to allow him to shove out that wave. No TP available for nukeduck. He has just ticked over to level 6 as Odoamne is continuing to poke here. Not sure when his level 6 comes in. Should just be a few more creeps.
And while Zanzarah's hovering around this bot side, Inspired is free farming, but they do land the hook. No flash on Trymbi.
Over and over again. promisq just can't miss. This Blitzcrank is an easy target for him. Jeskla manages to make it out as well and get a kill.
Yeah, picks up a kill. That's so important for Astralis. They were so far down in gold, but now they have a kill on the Caitlyn. The game's in an even state for this Caitlyn now. She can definitely push in these waves. promisq trying to land a hook there. I think Hans might have had to blow the cleanse, but you can see Larssen using his culling in mid. Did push out the waves, try and chunk nukeduck out, crash the wave. But now the game's in much more of a manageable state for Astralis. Yes, top is losing. Yes, your solo lanes are going to struggle because of the matchups. And Inspired is a level up because of the amount of time he's been using farming, whereas Zanzarah's been looking for ganks. The Caitlyn is somewhat back in the game. She is still a level down. She does need a couple more items. She needs to snowball this lead a lot harder. But there is hope for Astralis definitely now after that level 3 gank from Inspired on the bot side.
Keep our eyes on the Caitlyn build. I assume Gale Force will be the item coming through. Kraken Slayer not super good on her, and with the pickaxe, most likely not going to be an Immortal Shield bow, but something that we will track because it's not a pick that we see too often. That said, as you mentioned, it's going to be difficult. Good news is Zanzarah just now ticks over to level 6. The Skarner is online, but they have to be careful here in the mid lane. As you can see, all of Rogue already unlocked to move across the map and to make sure that nukeduck doesn't really get to lane anymore.
Yeah, Trymbi held the wave there and froze in nukeduck's face, cancelled his base. Now Astralis have to send numbers here to try and crash this wave because Larssen can keep the wave here and just dash in whenever he wants if his support jungler are around. So you can see promisq playing Lantern in case Trymbi tries to look for a hook or anything. But it looks like that wave's going to be trimmed out and the wave will be fine. So Zanzarah has flash. They do land the stun.
Flash immediately going to get the ult to follow up. nukeduck waiting, trying to line up as much damage as humanly possible. Is going to throw down the ultimate, and Larssen drops. Excellent setup there from Astralis.
Stunning to suppress. Good flash from Zanzarah. He had the Hex Flash as well, has the Lucidity boots, and that was just such a good play. He had so much movement speed to catch up from Larssen, and that's the thing. It's so easy to execute this comp from Astralis. The Thresh wasn't even there with the Lantern, but Zanzarah gets the flash ult, gets the kill, and now nukeduck can start making this mid matchup a lot more manageable. Does look to base, does get cancelled a little bit from Inspired, but Astralis do lose a little bit on the bot side, but this is the kind of plays they need to look for. Just these single target, flash ult, get the kill, back off, flash ult, get the kill, back off, rinse and repeat, try and grow a gold lead, so when it comes to the Dragons, Rogue has to pay QSS insurance.
Yeah, and you can see the bot lane still slightly in the favor of Hansan, about 200 gold, but mid lane clearly in the favor of nukeduck. As he starts to finish those first items, Larssen is going to have to be careful. Obviously, would much prefer to finish his items first, whether that be an Essence Reaver, a Gale Force, whatever he wants to opt for. Kraken Slayer is usually what we see, but if he has to stop for a Hex Drinker, if he has to stop for some Merc Treads, that is very difficult for the Lucian.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the thing with Rogue's comp. Not much frontline. They have a lot of good solo lanes, a lot of good pick potential with the Blitzcrank, but we saw this yesterday. Having no frontline is so difficult for you to actually be able to contest these objectives. Who's going to walk in and face check? We need to play over waves a lot more, make sure we see numbers on the waves, and then we can walk into river, because without much frontline, and Blitzcrank being your essential only frontline, it's very difficult to contest vision, but if they do get that vision, then it means Trymbi can hit really, really key hooks for the Rogue lineup before the objective spawns.
And it's important to note here the pressure on Rogue to come out on top in this game with a win, because you look at it, I mean, Astralis are 1-5. People don't expect Astralis to win this game. But Rogue is very much expected to win this game. And if they lose again after losing yesterday for Schalke, I think fans have every right to be a little bit skeptical if they're going to be ready for the challenge that lies ahead of them. Because week 4 is right around the corner. Caedrel, as we see WhiteKnight retreat. And while week 5 looks like it might be a little bit better for Rogue in terms of strength of schedule, Mad Lions into G2 next week for Rogue is a tall task.
Banger after banger, the back-to-back. You love to see it. Rogue versus Mad, summer split, first and second place teams. And then versus G2, who are looking super, super strong with the new roster swap of Reckless. But you can see the trade of objectives there. Zanzarah picks up the Drake, gets some bot camps from Inspired. Inspired trades it for the Herald, and I think this just benefits the Herald more. Essentially, I think trading first Drake for first Herald is not entirely worked for the team with the Dragon, because the Herald gives you so much gold, and gold makes it so the second Dragon you can contest a lot harder, and you have more resources to fight it. So Rogue definitely benefiting off the back of this play, although Zanzarah did pick up some camps, and he is defending his own.
At a minimum, this Herald guarantees 360 gold, or will if they can secure
There's no smite.
They're going to be able to grab it. Zanzarah is going to be drowsy, but there's not really any follow-up there. Inspired just going to be able to run out to safety. Yeah,
he uses the ult there just to secure the eye. I think if Zanzarah stepped up too far, WhiteKnight was moving down. nukeduck had to push. If Inspired didn't ult there was a chance that he could have got ulted. But he is really, really strong right now, level up. And Larssen does have the TP. Odoamne doesn't. And nukeduck is coming up soon. So that means this Astralis bot lane, when it comes to pushing in these waves, TPs and things like this are so important. But the problem is they don't have much vision. So I'd like to see Zanzarah base, get towards the bot side and try and get some vision for this Astralis bot lane so they can keep up this push.
Good call out, most certainly. Bot lane as well. Finally going to be able to crash to a wave here. We'll see if Inspired wants to interrupt this, as he has path down to the bottom side for now. It is just for his Krugs, but with a little bit more pressure, Jeskla could start to take these plates. But as Blitzcrank gets closer and closer to level 6, you always have to respect that burst damage that can come through from this duo. Blitzcrank level 6, notoriously very strong.
Yeah, I feel like Rogue needs to start snowballing this game. Try and get the Herald somewhere, whether it's mid or top. I think bot's a lot harder to contest, because if Inspired does face check the Skarner, he's going to get ulted and popped essentially, because the double TP from Astralis can come in. Yes, Rogue can answer, but the Astralis TPs are a lot more effective because they have so much more setup than Mega Gnar, the Syndra stun, whereas Lucian is more of just a damage bot. So Astralis pushing in this bot lane. I think that Rogue, like I said, they don't have too much face check in the mid to late game, so if Astralis can keep the gold somewhat even, they have so much more tools than Rogue to actually start fights and get one-shot picks. So this is how they snowball the game fast. Drop a bot wave. Let's use our base from bot tempo to go towards top. We have the Herald. Let's try and stop WhiteKnight's base, crash these waves, stack a wave, and try and get this top tower, because once the top tower falls, we can start roaming the map and getting our bot lane back to on the map as we saw.
Inspired getting collapsed on Zanzarah, moving in though onto Larssen.
Into the lantern!
Pulled back to the lantern, into the wall, now immediately slowed up. nukeduck says, okay boys, my time to shine.
That's
Push
the interaction.
Q.
I love it. I love that interaction. Ult into Lantern means that you're essentially Blitzcrank hooked on a point-and-click stun. So yeah, super good play from Astralis there. Making sure they target this Lucian, because if this Lucian isn't ahead, it's so weak. And we see another hook come in.
Inspired, potentially going to go for the ball. That's going to be the double sleep. Let's see what else they can get done. Jeskla on the way in. WhiteKnight just there to cover. Important to note, while that play was going on, lots of members from Rogue collapsed on WhiteKnight, but WhiteKnight did not give up his flash, did not burn any major cooldowns, and it looks like as a result, Astralis will be able to hold this top side. Herald was used, 2 plates knocked down, but 2 plates is the guaranteed minimum. Rogue would have liked to get that tower.
Yeah, the rinse and repeat comes in. The flash ult from Zanzarah once again onto Larssen, who's now down a level. Good flash from promisq there. I think there was almost a pixel there that could have hit him. So a really good reaction, as I think Inspired is trying to contest this red, and you can see that's the second ultimate that Inspired uses to actually disengage. He uses the ult for disengage to peel away. And although Rogue do drop the Herald, I think Astralis read the play so well. Once they caught the bot wave in bot, they base and ran top as soon as they could, as fast as they could, and they were able to answer Rogue before they could take the top tower. So super good practice from Zanzarah here. I need to see him keep it up.
WhiteKnight trying to land that last hyper proc there for the Gnar. But in general, Caedrel, I talked about not being sure about what I wanted to see from Astralis, and I don't know if they're going to get a Caitlyn, Thresh, whatever again, but I like this. I like this from Astralis, going toe-to-toe with Rogue in the early game, being up a couple hundred gold, matching some of these big plays, utilizing their composition as it was clearly intended to be used in draft. That is a solid game plan from Astralis.
And we said before the game, Astralis needs someone who can be that person that steps up and carries the game, someone who can shine. And I think nukeduck right now, especially in this game, is in that spot where he can shine. He's a level up, he's 2-0, he has a huge bounty on him, and he's so powerful against the whole comp of Rogue, because the whole comp of Rogue wants to dash in and try and look for picks, whereas nukeduck can shut that down and essentially one-shot every single member of Rogue. There's no one that can walk into nukeduck's face that he's actually scared of at all, especially seeing if the Blitzcrank hook is wasted. nukeduck can play so aggressive against this comp, so lots of eyes on nukeduck here. I think Jeskla's also been scaling super well, so the carries of Astralis need to step up.
Big opportunity. Gale Force Caitlyn, you can think of it as another dash, but also a huge source of burst damage if they can isolate out a single target, with the Luden's Echo coming in as well, though, for nukeduck. Astralis are set up for some big plays. 2-0 scoreline now. Can they get anything else? Thresh potentially ready to come over the wall. Trymbi on the way in. Big ult from nukeduck, buying a bit more space. The stun to knock him back. It's clean, but the damage isn't quite there to finish Larssen off. It does, however, mean that they have unlimited access to this mid lane. That said, in the meantime, Hansama funneling resources into himself as he takes the top lane tower.
Yeah, we did this on the LEC playbook. If you've ever seen that, you know, Hansama sits on a side lane, Trymbi groups with Larssen, and Hansama just keeps pushing the sides, getting XP advantages, getting gold advantages. You can see in the XP numbers. Look at Jeskla, level 8, Hansama level 9, Trymbi level 6, promisq level 7. So Trymbi's essentially giving himself up a little bit to get Hans as far ahead as he can, because he knows he's going to be so crucial in his mid to late game, because he's the essential big damage dealer for them, especially seeing as Larssen is behind, as we saw Zanzarah try to get a pick onto Odoamne there.
WhiteKnight. Hansama not going to be able to follow more than there.
Did he cancel that auto attack?
Important to note, though, Odoamne burning all right before he takes over to level 11 means that any coming teamfights are much easier for WhiteKnight and the side of Astralis. Kennen usually very, very important in games like this. Yeah, Rogue are playing so hard towards the side lane. Astralis don't really have an answer. They can't really do much on bot. They're going to try and get this tower now, but if Odoamne backs off, he should be pretty safe, whereas Hansama is essentially taking a tier 2 in WhiteKnight's face because he has no vision, so Astralis need to trade this for something. Push in mid, try and get mid tower tier 1 now, because so many members have showed top. Try and bring the Syndra towards mid, or bring the bot lane from mid towards bot. Try and get some towers back. So much control of the map has just been. Look at the vision on the top side as well from Rogue. That is their territory now for as long as they want it to be. Astralis are going to take the mid lane. They've got the Lantern there to get out, but this is not Astralis rapidly increasing the pace of the game like they need to if they want to keep this Caitlyn ahead of the curve. Yeah, but I think they're playing pretty well so far. Look at the levels. We said it again. Yes, Hans is level up. Yes, Trymbi's level down, but they're in a stable spot where you would think Astralis have a chance to win this game. They have a really good comp. Absolutely. They're in a really good spot in the game. They've got mid tier 1. They've cracked the game open. Now keep the Caitlyn mid, keep the mid push, and play over side lanes really well, and make sure you keep the waves pushed in before the objective spawns. So I'm looking at promisq and Zanzarah here. They need to pair up together and make sure that you use Jeskla with his push and move around the map to control the map. I mean, you can look at the map. Their only objectives really are the top and bot tier 1 and the Herald, so we'll have to see what they decide to fight for. And for now, the side of Astralis is sitting pretty comfortable, because at this point in the game, nobody can afford to diverge their build path to buy a QSS against the Skarner. Inspired, of course, has the Hourglass, and it looks like we might see the Moonstone Renewer coming in from him as well. But no QSSs yet means Zanzarah's got nothing but prime targets if Astralis can find the opportunity. Yeah, Astralis going towards his bot tower here, helping nukeduck on sort of a 4-1 shift to try and get this tower, and WhiteKnight identifies, well, I don't have to be top because I have no towers, so you have to push in about 3 waves before it gets to my inhib tower, and then I'll base and catch it. So WhiteKnight being very proactive here with the game state, I really like that. And just look at Larssen. He's built the Merc Treads. He doesn't have a QSS yet. He's a level down on nukeduck, so this Lucian is not very, very powerful going into this 3rd dragon fight, whereas Astralis, it's Ocean Soul, 3rd dragon in 2 minutes 40, full bot side control. So Astralis, super, super good spot. And like I said earlier in the draft, who face checks from Rogue? They're scared of hooks. They have to be scared of Syndra stuns, TP flanks from the Gnar, and the flash ult, especially from the Skarner with the Lantern. One thing to note, though, we do see Gordon completed, but it is matched by the Protobell on the opposite side. You see nukeduck leading us in the XP category. Herald can be used as a point of pressure if Rogue want to threaten, maybe taking an inhibitor or something to buy themselves space to try and do the dragon. A risky proposition, but something they could go for. Most importantly, level 11 is flanking for Odoamne and the Kennen ultimate, but Jeskla now going to be in trouble. That said, that's a major cooldown burned. Still 2 minutes to the dragon, though, means it shouldn't cost too much. Yeah, promisq playing Lantern so well there, and Rogue do have the top side of the map controlled. The red buff is spawning, but WhiteKnight reads it. Doesn't know he's on a ward, though, but Zanzarah will sweep that out. Could be a fight here. Ooh, leap back. The Gnar not quite going to connect. Good damage onto Inspired means that they will secure this one, but... or will they? No. Yeah, looks like they'll get this one Astralis, but good proactivity from WhiteKnight there. Identified Inspired was stepping up a bit too far, and Astralis was collapsing pretty well, so... we talked about this before. Astralis have full mid priority with this Caitlyn. nukeduck, level up on Larssen, has full side lane priority as well. WhiteKnight, he doesn't even need to be on a side lane. He just has to stay with his team like he's doing again. And when Hans pushes in that wave to tier 3, he's just going to recall and catch it. So essentially, Astralis just have a numbers advantage across the map. 2 prior lanes and a top lane wave where tier 2 is not up to. You can just base and catch it on the tier 3 whenever you want. So really good proactivity from Astralis here. If they keep this up, they should be able to get a good setup for the 3rd dragon. And maybe we see Hansama shift to a different lane closer to the objective, as Odoamne does have TP available and Larssen's is on the way. Can't tell if it's going to be up in time for the dragon, but something that does have to be respected by the side of the Rogue is the potential for Astralis just to take this dragon. And looking at this game, checking in on the Caitlyn, looks like Storm Razor, Rapid Fire Cannon, generally what would you expect to see on this champion. And that means if Astralis can keep us in these a bit slower, a bit more set plays, Caitlyn's just going to be able to poke down and slowly siege out these objectives. Yeah, Rogue
Odoamne is grouping with them, so the TP flank is somewhat there, but it really isn't if he's grouping. And now Astralis have put the pressure on the top side of the map. You can see WhiteKnight's pushing in these top waves. Odoamne is going to have to answer, like you said, with the TP, so it's a 4v4 setup, but they've got the Thresh hook, they've got the bot lane prio, and Zanzarah has flash, so he can engage it at the blink of an eye, essentially.
And difficult as well, though. WhiteKnight tired now, will have to build Rage before he comes into a fight. Odoamne has instant access to the ultimate, so 5v5 still difficult to say who will come out on top. Keep
the mid prio. I would like to see Rogue maybe look to Herald bot here, try and crack open bot tier 1, try and play through bot, because if you can't get through mid and you have no vision around mid and you can't get the objective through mid because of the Caitlyn traps, because of the vision, you have to play through a bot, through a side wave. So choosing to go through bot, looks like nukeduck's going to TP in here, has his 2 items, he is very, very strong.
Using TP to cheat a man advantage.
Rogue's giving this up. They're giving up the 3rd Dragon, so that means Dragon Soul point for Astralis, Ocean Soul, even gold lead for both teams. And who would have thought 20 minutes in, Rogue versus Astralis, the game is basically even, and honestly I would slightly favor Astralis' game state here, not because of the Dragons, but basically because of the team composition.
It's easy to execute, and I think it's straightforward exactly what the goals are. Now, keep in mind, we haven't seen the top laners really involved in any big team fights. We haven't seen any big team fights whatsoever. So execution will still be king here, but Astralis, the ones with the easier time, is the back will complete. The Herald is used mid. Now, bad news for the side of Astralis. No one in the immediate area to stop this, but with no creep wave, Hansama can't realistically step forward.
He's basically taunting them. He has the flash ult and he has the Larssen right behind him, so Rogue can't get this tier 1. Yes, they've used the Herald to chip it down, but they can't get it. They have to answer bot waves. Look at WhiteKnight. Odoamne has to base, and you're right. We haven't seen much from the top laners. They've both basically had TP the whole game, barring the level 6-7 trade that they had, where they both TP'd back, so whichever team can find the right engage first will essentially get the neutral objective whenever they want.
promisq
flash in the wall.
Flash, no! Oh, Caedrel don't do him like that.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Hate to see it. Okay, the good news is they won't lose too much. Unless Rogue want to start a Baron and look for a 4v5, they won't lose too much, but promisq, that was max range hook there. Flashed into the wall. It's very unfortunate. Happens sometimes, but Rogue don't get too much for it. All they get is a kill. Yes, the kill goes on to hands, but look at the gold. The gold's even. There's still 3 minutes till the Dragon. They only lose a little bit of mid control and a little bit of vision, so not the end of the world, but definitely don't want to make those kind of mistakes if the game's a little bit later in the game.
Yeah, and the bad news is essentially when Thresh has Lantern and Flash up, he's got an extra flash for his AD carry. That's no longer an option. That flash being gone does matter. But the good news, as you said, promisq losing his life, not too consequential. Blitzcrank finding that hook, not the end of the world. That said, we've now got a 2-0-1 Hansama with the Collector. So Astralis are going to have to give a little bit of respect to him, and there we go!
There's the good. I love it! I love to see it! This interaction is amazing. They get the pick onto Hans. Hans has both sums up, but you can't cleanse a Skarner ult, so now Astralis pushing this mid wave. WhiteKnight has TP. There's still 30 seconds on Hans. Do they want to start Baron? I think it's a bit difficult, but that flash ult does get the shutdown onto Hans. Yes, promisq picked up the kill, but what do you do with this kill?
And honestly, we rarely get to see jungle synergy in such a simple example as this, but we can look back at it one more time. I don't have words other than I love it. I think you said it best, Caedrel.
It's beautiful. It's almost like a harmonical dance. Look at that.
Yeah.
Pulled straight into Jeskla. Yes, promisq does take the 500 gold shutdown. The good thing is that play was good. I like the play. The problem is now Zanzarah doesn't have flash for the next fight. So when it comes to making these picks, Hans has picked up a QSS, yes, but trying to get onto Larssen, 2 minutes on this Drake, Baron's up, so he won't have flash for 5 minutes essentially. So he might struggle to find this pick again if Rogue decides to take a fight in the next couple minutes.
2 minutes to Ocean Soul for Astralis. Big pressure. It's going to be time to show up. Odoamne not going to be level 16 yet. He'll only have 2 points in the Kennen ult by the time we get there, but maybe, just maybe, they can get the combo down between him and Inspired to find a way to win this fight. But it is all going to come down to execution. It will not be about little plays on the side lanes anymore. A single pick when this Dragon is up could very well just put one team in such a large advantage that there is no room to come back. Ocean Soul, devastating to play against.
Yeah, Rogue have to hit a hook to get engaged. They're either looking at a hook, Hans trying to picking someone off, or Odoamne TPing behind. That's the only real 3 conditions they have to start a fight or make a fight winnable in a sense. Whereas Astralis, they can flank with Gnar, flash ult from the side of Skarner, hit Syndra stuns, hooks, even put Caitlyn traps in to make sure Rogue have to walk in without any engage. But double QSS picked up for Rogue. Problem is, Larssen Inspired are also targets, and Odoamne can be ulted on the engage too, so Zanzarah still has 3 targets left, and that's the problem. Normally when you have tanks in your composition, Skarner doesn't want to ult them, but no one's a tank on Rogue's composition, and no one can face check, so Zanzarah is basically, he's got 5 targets that he can choose from, and only 2 of them have a QSS.
It's a big deal. A minute left, though. No mid-prio right now for the side of Astralis means they cannot move in to contest any of this vision. A single lone ward there in that bottom lane brush as the control ward here in the pit is going to get cleared out.
Yeah, and Rogue have established vision, which is crucial. This is the first point in the game where Rogue have actually had river control before an objective spawns. They have full pinks, they have Blitzcrank hooks, no flash on Zanzarah or promisq. So Astralis, how do they break this vision line? They go through mid, try and push the wave in, and then contest afterwards.
Suppressed.
I think that was a bait from Handsama. I think he tried to bait Zanzarah's ult there.
That's going to be big, but the hook lands. Trymbi going to use his QSS as well. WhiteKnight on the front line. Immediately they're going to go for the sleep. That's two members, three members drowsy. Can they get the setup? The follow from Odoamne. He's looking to clean house. Odoamne doing big work as Handsama takes down WhiteKnight. promisq has to run for the hills, and Rogue take the fight well executed.
Huge fight from Rogue there. Zanzarah does ult onto Hans. Hans QSSs it. Hooks hits Trymbi. QSSs that too, so they hit the two wrong targets that they didn't want to hit, and the re-engage from Inspired was key. They don't have too much re-engage in terms of point and click, but the flash ult from Inspired, the flash ult from Odoamne managed to win the fight for them, and Rogue are going to deny this Dragon Soul point. Are they going to get the Baron? The answer is no, but they've stalled the game out long enough and got a couple shutdowns onto the side of Astralis.
Ooh. And Zanzarah, did he push tab before the fight?
Hans baited this. Look, he walks up into his face and makes him use the ult, so then he QSSs out. And then when Trymbi blocks the hook from his whole team, he QSSs that out too. So now Astralis, they think that they've won the fight because there's no QSSs, but the flash Q from Inspired to get a three-man sleep. And look at Larssen, flashed over the wall, Odoamne flashed onto the back line, and essentially Astralis have no answer to follow up the fight.
No room for the maneuver, and nukeduck, a member who had so many resources put into his back pocket, no room to play the game as the Gale Force denies him any follow-up on the scat of the week. Not that he even could have finished the job there, but just very well executed by the side of Rogue. Now we see the third QSS coming into the fray. Larssen also no longer going to be a viable target, and more often than not, and this is not the game that I was expecting. Now keep in mind, it is a 3K gold lead for Rogue. They are up 2 towers. They do have big CS leads in a lot of different places, but much closer game than was anticipated. And now Handsama again, the cooldown is there. It is available. Thresh gonna get absolutely obliterated. Now they're backing off, and promisq gets taken out.
That was such a confusing play from Zanzarah there. He knew had QSS from the last fight. The only real reason I can see Zanzarah doing this is he probably thought that Kai'Sa's QSS was on cooldown still. I'm not sure what the cooldown was on it, but it definitely was up for that fight. Just QSS out of it. They pick up promisq, and now Astralis, they look like they've stumbled essentially upon the game. They were in such a good spot. They get caught on promisq, then they make a few misplays on the flash engages, and now Rogue are setting up around this Baron. The problem is Rogue don't have anyone to tank this Baron, so they need to make sure if they start this Baron, they need some kind of ace or a huge number advantage to be able to secure it very safely. But like we said, this is not going to be a huge problem for them. promisq dies again. All they're losing is mid-prio, but when you lose mid-prio, you lose vision. And if you lose vision, it means Rogue can choose the fights that they want, whereas Astralis could choose the fights that they wanted beforehand.
And when we look at both of these compositions, it's important to note that while we do have some beefy frontline in the form of the Skarner and some intermittently beefy frontline in the form of the Gnar, the Gnar is not super reliable in these fights. The Kennen ult is instantly breaks up the fight, forces Astralis to step back, forces Astralis to give that respect over. But the Gnar, if you don't time that flawlessly, WhiteKnight's not super useful in these exchanges. You saw how quickly Gnar just gets absolutely shredded as Handsama leaps in.
Yeah, does try to chunk them out. There's really any objective to fight over though, but look at Odoamne's items. 2 items, has a stopwatch as well, so he is going to melt the backline of Astralis if he can get onto it. Zanzarah has no flash, so Rogue don't have to be too scared. The only real targets for Zanzarah now are the Lillia and the Kennen. So the mid game of this Skarner Thresh looks really cool clips. It looks really good for the picks. The problem is the QSS have come in. They're going on to Trymbi. He does have QSS too.
Gnar, Trymbi going to be in trouble. QSS not enough. That's support taken out.
Yeah. So they did use 3 ultimates in that fight. They don't have the Skarner ult, they don't have the Syndra ult. But Astralis needs to contest this mid-wave. It's kind of like a stalemate now. Although Trymbi is dead, it's almost like a stalemate. Do they want to start the Baron? If they do, they don't have Gnar, and they're missing 3 ultimates.
Gnar waiting. 15-second cooldown for
and stole the crab. That's pretty big. Now they're going to have vision on Astralis when they start it. And nukeduck has no ult, and he's quite low on mana. So Astralis going for this Baron.
It's a flip. It's a big gamble.
It's 4 members in the pit.
Inspired looking for that opportunity. He could probably try to find a single-man sleep right now. Not ideal. Traps landing on Odoamne. 6K getting lower. Odoamne, no flash available, but does have the proto belt for himself.
Sleep.
Zanzarah, 3K getting lower. They want to burn it down. They need to burn it badly. Inspired. The trap's kind of zoning him out of the pit. Not sure if it's going to connect. WhiteKnight, though, can try to get a little bit of a distance. The knockback coming in. They've knocked it back. It's clutch. Caitlyn gets it in the end. Neither smite going to matter. And now promisq, he lands the hook. He buys the space for Jeskla to retreat, and I cannot believe it, but Astralis They've taken the Baron.
Drakos, that Baron was so risky. You could see Inspired was waiting for it to get low, but he does flash in the pit. It seems Jeskla gets the Baron of all people, and they do lose 2 members, but Astralis get the Baron, and that's the key thing. There's still 1 minute on Dragon. Rogue might be able to get bot tier 2 or mid tier 2, but the key point is Astralis have 3 members with Baron, and there's still an Ocean Soul in the cards in 1 minute.
And important to note that Larssen immediately TP'd into the bottom lane to try to pressure bot lane. Zanzarah was there pretty quickly, so maybe a wave lost, a little bit of damage on the tower, but the tower doesn't drop, and that means no TP for the fight to come. As we look back on this one, WhiteKnight, the guy you need to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, WhiteKnight pushes Inspired away just so he could flash into the pit because he was looking for it. He does end up doing it in the end. Wow, that was so close. Inspired didn't even smite it. It was Zanzarah and Jeskla who picked it up, and the problem is Astralis knew they would lose the fight as soon as it started, so get the Baron and run. And the thing is, Rogue had to poke and prod their way into that fight, because if they overstepped and got hit by a hook or anything like this, then they probably would have lost it. So they picked their timing well. The problem is, it does seem that Astralis picked up the Baron, and they can push in these mid waves. Handsome is going to get chunks really low now.
Huge damage. The body block coming through in the end there, but this is the power. It's 3-item Caitlyn. She's got the Storm Rager. She's got the rapid fire cannon. Single autos are going to hit like a truck if she gets to charge up that Energizer passive.
Drakos, this is huge for Astralis. They can get full bot side river control if they push in these mid waves. Rogue are going to have to back off. They need to hit 1 hook to win the fight, and here it could be.
This is huge. WhiteKnight does not have Mega Gnar, and he's coming into the fight. promisq already caught up. The flash of the wall, not nearly enough, but Cathian Rain is there to finish the job. Astralis now on the retreat.
That's almost like a game-winning hook here. Rogue have a numbers advantage. They still have Odoamne's ultimate, so if Astralis stack up, there could be a big Kennen ult here, but I think Astralis have to fight it anyway because they're so strong on this Syndra and Caitlyn.
Larssen off to the side. Maybe they can collapse on the flank. Larssen pushing forward with the coin to give himself a little bit more space. And immediately Odoamne into the pit! They see it! They smell the blood in the water, and Astralis are knocked to pieces. Hansama fearlessly moving forward. He will not get taken down. The scatter of the week will end him there. The shutdown big for nukeduck, and the soul still... What?
They picked up the soul. Astralis have the Ocean Soul. They lost 4 members, but they did pick up hands. The good thing for Astralis is mid was pushed in, bot was pushed in, and top is slow pushing. So Rogue can't do anything. All they can take is vision and jungle camp. So now Astralis have the late game scaling. They have the Ocean Soul, and Rogue, although they played that fight really well and got the pick before the fight started, are looking at an Ocean Soul disadvantage here against Astralis.
And I'm not going to lie, Caedrel, I forgot Rogue got an Ocean Drake, and I thought they both got a Drake for that, and I was just panicking. I didn't know what was happening. And Rogue, the good news is they're not panicking. They clearly got their eye on the prize. They're looking to set up their next play, hoping to find a hook here, hoping to find a single target they can isolate. But this game, this gold lead might not matter when you are facing down the Ocean Drake. You know what? They've got a Moonstone. That's great. Let's talk about the Moonstone before there was Moonstone. It's Ocean Soul, people, and it is so powerful.
Yeah, it's so powerful, especially on champions like Syndra and Gnar, who can just lifesteal so much from their burst. And the thing is, Rogue were looking for a pick there because they had so much tempo after they won the fight. But Astralis didn't fall for it. They stayed on the waves, they stayed in the lanes, and now they are 4k gold down, like you said. Perhaps they're down an item or 2 here and there, but the Ocean Soul is massive for team fights, especially on things like Caitlyn, like I said, Syndra and Gnar. So Astralis needs to keep pushing in the mid, keeping up this mid priority essentially that they have. Try and group up and look for fights, but the problem is Astralis have been getting hit by a lot of hooks, and if they don't get hit by these hooks, the fights will be a lot easier for them.
Scout of the week now used. Zanzarah constantly a threat here. Big movement speed steroid between the Dead Man's Play and the W already. Getting a little bit more space for the team. Not sure if Inspired has a QSS yet or if he's happy with just the Hourglass.
And the most important thing here is Odoamne has no flash, Larssen has no flash, Hans has no flash. So if Rogue step up too far, they could lose the fight.
Flash. Hook back. Still a Lantern there, but they're going to break the jungler. Trymbi instantly going to get one shot as nukeduck also gets the knockback. Clean play from nukeduck. Hansama trying to step forward, but they can't walk into that pinch.
Yep, Astralis trade 1 for 1. Zanzarah stepped up way too far, but so did Trymbi to get the pick. But support for jungle. Odoamne still has ult, but he has no flash.
Caitlyn ult, body block from Larssen.
And they have a mid wave.
Moonstone Renewer is on Inspired. If he lands any abilities at all, he's going to start to heal up. Big damage onto Odo. Excellent use of the EQ combo coming in from Jeskla.
Yeah, he almost hit the E. If he hit the E there, he could have got the auto and Odoamne would have died. So Astralis are trying to kind of herd Rogue out of their jungle so they can get this mid push, try and push them away. It's a 4v4, but Astralis have so many more tools than Rogue because Rogue is so short ranged. And if this Kennen can't flank or flash in, it's so hard for him to get into the fight. As we see this again, Zanzarah steps up way too far, looking for some kind of ult, gets hit by the sleep bubble from Inspired, who pops the ultimate, gets to sleep, and then he's scared of the hook hitting, so he thinks he can preemptively flash because Trymbi might buffer the hook on the sleep, but that doesn't end up happening. He does get hooked in the end, but look at the burst from nukeduck. Trymbi even had Aftershock up, knocks Odoamne away, has no flash, 1 for 1, but now the Skarner has no flash, and Inspired and Odoamne can play a lot more aggressively in these fights.
And Caedrel, this is, again, not the game that we are expecting. This is very much an even fight. 3k gold difference maybe balances out the Ocean Drake. I can't imagine that it does, but the Moonstone Renewer will certainly help make up some of the difference on the hands of Inspired. Scuttlecrab going down. matters, as it is going to be a minute until the Baron spawns.
This is the problem when it comes to late game. Normally team compositions have strengths. If you have a Camille, she's really strong on sides. If you have a huge team fight comp with things like Azir, Hecarim, you're gonna shine in fights. The problem is Rogue have like almost like the stats meter. Nothing's a 10, everything's a 5. They have good side lane, they have good team fight, they have good solo lanes, they have decent scaling, but nothing's outstanding. Yeah. Whereas on Astralis, the Caitlyn, the Syndra, the Gnar scale so well. So this Kennen, I think, is the only real scaling point alongside the Kai'Sa, because the Lucian is a little bit far behind. That they need to step up in these fights, try and find a flank. The problem is they don't have any front line. They don't have too much to face check, and they don't have too much to set up the fights before they go in. You know, the Kennen needs some sort of engage before he can actually look for these engages himself.
The good news is, all it takes is one really good sleep or one really good ultimate from Odoamne to instantly destroy the backline of Astralis. Now that is difficult, especially when there's a Banshee's Veil up for nukeduck, when there is the defensive McHale's available now for promisq to save Jeskla if that does go down. But if it can't happen, Kennen is one of those champions who can turn a game in an instant. Yeah, and Hans is 5 kills ahead of Jeskla, but the problem is, if you look at the items, he's only a QSS up because he has to play that tax for the QSS himself, so both AD carries are quite even, although Jeskla is down a level, so that's why Astralis grouped up can keep pushing this mid waves, and Rogue don't have any side lane pressure. They don't have too much they can step up and threat Astralis away from this mid wave, whereas Astralis, they have hooks, they have Skarner ults, but look at Odoamne, he's looking for some kind of flank. He is going all the way around, but Astralis have got really good vision, so they should be able to spot him out here. But Rogue need to kind of pincer Astralis to try and get some kind of flank on their backline while starting a fry to the front. Have to be careful if they overcommit to a play. They don't have a ton of disengage options on the side of Astralis. Looks like they're getting things kicked off on Inspired. Good damage coming in. Moonstone still going to heal the team up if this takes too long, but the same is true for Astralis with the Ocean Soul. Biding our time, waiting. Odoamne off to the side, just in time for the flash to come up, but the play knocks it back, but still the sleep comes in and it's clutch. Hansama waiting for the setup. Jeskla down, now pouring through the back line. Hansama is unstoppable. It is so much damage. nukeduck again, the last man left standing, and Rogue managed to find the fight. Rogue find the mispositioning on Astralis. There's a bot wave, Drakos. I think they might be able to push an end here. nukeduck's running for the hills. He's going to be able to TP, but I think Trymbi can just cancel this. I think Rogue can push in bot and end, and Astralis mispositioned so hard for this fight. Mispositions indeed. nukeduck taken down, the white flag raised, but it's Astralis' white flag in the end. Rogue pushing in, and they will end the game. It was a nail biter. It was closer than it had any reason to be, but at the end of the day, Rogue find the fight that matters when it matters most, and they are going to be able to close out this game. Yeah, Rogue can't keep getting away with it. We saw this yesterday, same kind of game state, same kind of comp. They did lose in the end, but they kept themselves in the game, and they just punished Astralis' mistakes so much, especially when Jeskla got caught up before this fight even started. An incredible finish, most to be certain, from the side of Rogue. At the end of the day, any collapse at all from the side of Astralis, Rogue found that winning team fight. It was all it took. And wow. Yeah, wow. I'm going to say it. Rogue won, and I don't know if they're happy about that, but they're happy to have the W on the board, right? But what I will say is, I liked what Astralis brought to the table. I liked the Thresh Caitlyn bot lane, even if they did, they griefed a little bit early game. You know, they died where they shouldn't have died. They didn't quite respect that early gank coming in, and credit to Inspired for that, you know, very clever pathing. At the same time, yeah. The thing is, Rogue didn't have too many tools to start fights, get engages, set up around Drakes, and the thing is, all of their comp revolves around getting ahead in the early game, getting winning lanes, getting some kind of ganks or dives off, but they didn't really do any of that. So when it came to the mid to late game, as you saw, the game was kind of in Astralis' favor. They had all the push, they had the Ocean Soul. The problem was Jeskla got caught in the fight, and he did get popped by Hansama. That's all it takes. A lot of damage comes in from Kai'Sa. Caitlyn wants to keep you at arm's length. Kia player of the game, though, at LEC on Twitter. Odo, Hans, or Trymbi. A lot of solid options there. Hans kind of had a highlight montage reel in the last fight, though. You could see Hans' positioning in the fight. He was stepping up so far, trying to snipe with W's, ult in and just chunk people out. I think he was really trying to get his team to Or you could give it to Odoamne, who is on the board at 0 points right now for Kia player of the game. It's so funny if he stays at 0 after how well he's been playing. I think Hansama technically earned it. But if you want to support Odo, give him that vote. When we return, Quickshot and Vedius are joined by Rogue's Odoamne as they look ahead towards our match of the week, G2 Esports versus Fnatic. Lovely.
I mean, so Fnatic G2 is like a rivalry that's been there ever since I joined, or like even before I joined. It's always just a competition between Fnatic and G2, which team will win the trophy.
With the history of Fnatic players going to G2, it always makes the matchup more interesting.
It's always going to be exciting to face Fnatic. I'm excited to shut them up and just prove that we are better once and for all again. another year, another G2 is better than Fnatic.
They are out there, waiting to be discovered. Some of them are big, and some of them are small. But that's the thing with ideas. They don't just come to you. To find them, you have to move. Kia, movement that inspires.
welcome back to the LEC and our match of the week, G2 Esports versus Fnatic. Before we get to that, we have to talk to Odoamne from Rogue. Dude, were you sweating during that game or not?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, we knew that all it takes is like one good fight, but I know it just felt like we didn't really have a lot of tools to get that good fight, even though we were kind of like ahead and always first at like objectives and stuff. But it feels like we didn't really have like a lot. Like it feels like we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, you know, with the champs we had. So yeah, it was. I wasn't really like sweating super hard, you know, but it was like not as comfortable as I thought it should have been, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially after yesterday's game, it's a little bit of a rough weekend for the Rogue camp. I mean, how has it felt this weekend in comparison to previous weeks? Obviously, first loss of the year yesterday.
I mean, I think the loss is for the better, you know, because there's always this, like, you know, everyone's kind of like thinking in the back. I mean, contrast to last year, you know, when everyone was thinking not to be 0-18 in Schalke, and now we were kind of like thinking of 18-0, you know, because we were really in form and stuff. So I don't know, the loss is for the better because now we can kind of just focus on the tasks at hand, you know, and focus on improvement that we can get every week. Not that, like, you know, we got complacent or anything, but it's easy to kind of like forget the small things when you kind of get too ahead of yourselves. But saying that, I think the game yesterday was kind of like the same situation as today. We had, we didn't really have a lot of tools to win super hard, but I feel like as today, like as the game of today, we kind of made like a small mistake that kind of just puts us behind somewhat in terms of like pressure or like tempo, and we don't really have a lot of tools to kind of get back into the game, because I feel like yesterday and today, if we like play without mistakes, even though our comps are a bit like weird to say so, I think if we play properly, then enemy cannot really do anything. Because yesterday, for example, our Talia was, I think, 3 levels ahead at one point, yep. And all we had to do is just kind of slow it down a bit, and we would have been fine, you know. But it kind of like puts things into perspective, you know, the games of yesterday and today.
If I can, there's something that absolutely blows my mind. Vedius and I actually, we were making some jokes and talking backstage, and after G2 lost their game, we're saying, you know, there was this discussion that G2 could go 18-0 in summer. I think Vedius turned to me and said, the odds of that are lower because the team that you'd believe in actually being able to go 18-0 would be Rogue. It makes me happy to hear you talking about, you know, backstage, the team are talking about it. I want to dive into that in just a moment. Before I do that, can I pull up a replay, the very last team fight? It was literally 2-3 minutes before the game ended. You were hunting for a flank for what felt like forever. Odoamne, talk me through what's going on in comms here.
Yeah, the problem is here that I was kind of counting down my flash, so I was kind of like trying to show on wards or like kind of threaten a flag to kind of slow them down from starting Nasher, because I felt like it was really hard to get into the Nasher once they put Caitlyn traps and start zoning us with Syndra stun. So I was kind of trying to buy time until my flash is up, and then I think they just made a big mistake there. Because even though in the last team fight I didn't really do much, Caitlyn was kind of stuck from like not being able to take the lantern because I was threatening Thresh on the lantern position. So she kind of was forced to split and get one-shot by Kai'Sa. So it's just kind of like playing to our win conditions there, because all we can do is kind of look for flanks. But it was sloppy up until that point because I didn't have flash, but once my flash would come up, we could actually start contesting mid waves again.
I will eventually ask Vedius to join the conversation.
I mean, I'm listening to Odo. Odo has so much context and great things to say, so it's a pleasure to listen.
Odoamne, I am going to be asking you a few questions about Fnatic versus G2. Before I do that, though, you were one of the possible player of the games. Before I tell you who it is, I've seen your whining on social media, and I want to give you an opportunity to speak to the fans, to address, you know, the controversy I've been seeing on social media, and honestly, like the temper tantrums you're throwing.
Okay, the problem is it's kind of rigged, you know, because, for example, my Romanian bros at home, they do not use Twitter. They're all Facebook users, right. Instagram users, but...
Yes! Oh, this is amazing! You have one player of the game. Thank you so much. That is legitimately not planned. That is legitimately not planned. I actually said to the production team, don't put the graphic up.
This is horrible.
Hey, you are player of the game!
I mean, the whining will continue, but back to my point. The Frenchie boys are all using Twitter and abusing it, so they're all voting for Hans. So I'm kind of surprised I won this time. I mean, I played really good, I think. My Kennen pick was kind of good, so it's deserved for sure. But I don't know. I'm happy to get it. I'm really excited with all these festivities.
Can I say?
Yeah, let's move on now.
Can I say thank you to everyone on Twitter who didn't vote for Odo until today. Thank you for everyone that voted today, but also, Odo, thank you for being such a good sport. It has been a pleasure watching a little bit of the descent into madness in 2020 and then the rebirth in 2021. It is great. You did say it. Let's move on. I would actually like Vedius to say something here. This isn't a two-man interview, right? Yeah. So let's get ourselves into position for Fnatic versus G2. It is our match of the week. What feels like an eternity ago in Ready Check, you and I were talking a little bit about playstyles. We're talking a little bit about what we can expect this match. So where do you want to take our conversation? What are you going to be looking at, and who you're favoring to win? I mean,
well, I think the easy answer here is G2. When we look at how they approach the game, it is a lot cleaner. I think their drafts overall have been very good, and I think that they have a pretty good grasp on the meta along with 5 of the best players that we have in the league, which is why I'm very interested to hear what Odo thinks in particular with this matchup and like his thoughts on Rogue, because when we look at this matchup in particular, in recent history, a lot of it has been like, well, there's this area of the map where G2 has options, and there's this area of the map where Fnatic have options. But now I feel like the G2 kind of have options across the boards, and maybe Fnatic don't. Because you look at maybe self-made, you look at the jungle support synergy, and maybe if they get the playmaking options, then there's a way in which they can snowball the game. But recently, their willingness to take almost every single fight, their willingness to overcommit to many plays has both given them advantages and also bit them in the foot. So I think that Fnatic is very unpredictable versus what seems like a very rock-solid, consistent G2, and it's difficult for me to see how Fnatic can really come out ahead in this matchup. So what do you think, Odo?
That's my cue to go in, right?
Yeah, he didn't give you a question. This is why he's not speaking.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm going in, but yeah, I kind of agree with Vedius. Fnatic is still kind of like super chaotic. They didn't really find their style, but I feel like they're kind of coming into place with their identity and how they want to play. But at the same time, yeah, exactly as Vedius said, G2 is so solid right now, and I feel like their drafts have always been good. And to be honest, most of the time, the games are decided by like draft diffies. So I don't know, with like the consistency that G2 has and the talent they have on the squad, I feel like they're still kind of too good for Fnatic's like creativity.
So do you, and you can answer as much as you want on this, Odo, but obviously you're playing G2 next week, and I don't want you to spoil anything for us or give too much away, but when you are thinking about playing a top team like this, what are the sort of things that you think about and ways in which Fnatic could potentially upset a team like G2?
I mean, I feel like G2 is kind of similar to us at the moment. We're kind of like, if people give us like opportunities to take over the game, we will. But at the same time, we're really comfortable to kind of play structured and just take things step by step. So I feel like Fnatic kind of needs to go and get it dirty, you know, just do, because I feel like right now everyone's just kind of like doing full clear into full clear into full clear, get a random gank here and there, but I don't see a lot of like 3 camps into gank, kind of unconventional stuff like that. So I feel like once you go into like games like that where it's more about like skirmishing and less about like, you know, structure and control, I feel like that's kind of how Fnatic would look to disrupt G2. And also like, you know, Buipo has a lot of crazy picks like Pantheon, stuff that kind of gets aggressive like super early in the game and can create some imbalances on the top side. So just kind of picks in that style and games in that style I feel like are kind of good to disrupt control teams like
Odoamne and Vedius, I am hearing that we are getting very near to picks and bans. We did have a small delay getting started, so this is going to be a risk for me, and I'm sorry to producers. I need a short prediction from 2 of the people who run long monologue forever. Odoamne, then Vedius, who will win this game and why? Quickly.
Wait, me first? Okay.
Yeah, first.
I think still G2. I feel like they kind of dropped the ball against Schalke like we did, but Schalke is just too good at the moment, so that's understandable. So I feel like I just feel like their consistency and just like the level of talent is like too much for like Fnatic at the moment with their like chaotic playstyle. So I give it to G2.
And remember, fans, that was a short answer from Odoamne. Vedius.
I agree with Odoamne.
Fantastic. We are minutes away from our match of the week between Fnatic and G2 Esports, which puts Reckless up against his former team from your POG champ for the first time in 2021. Goodbye, Odo. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the side of the break.